Hi, my name's Laura. I'm with Lumina Wellness, and I just wanted to introduce and welcome y'all tonight for this event. Dr. Keisha and her husband, Jerome Gainer. I want to thank y'all for sure for coming tonight and spending time with us. And tonight's going to be exciting. We're going to continue this event, this series of couples in San Antonio area, with this opportunity to go more depth into issues surrounding aging and sexuality. I'm going to turn it over tonight with Dr. Keisha Loftin and her husband, Jerome Gainer.
Thank you, everybody, again, for coming out to listen to this very important talk. Just to give you a little bit of background from me, I'm Dr. Keisha Loftin. I'm board-certified OBGYN, practicing here in San Antonio for 20 years. And I have a passion about wellness, about health, and I've been particularly interested in intimate health and started bringing that into my practice in 2018. And so really started trying to get more information out to the community. And so I love to help people look better, feel better, live a better life as they go through this time we call the aging process. But you can age gracefully, you can age well, and enjoy life together. And so my partner in life, my husband, my love here is Jerome. He's going to kind of set the scene for what's going to happen tonight.
Thank you, honey. So Keisha and I have been married for 11 years. We're happily married. I think that some of that happiness has to do with some of the things that we've learned and done through Lumina. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a software engineer. I've worked at USAA, but I also have a lot of other side jobs. I think they call them, what do they call them these days? Side gigs. So, yeah. Well, that is one of my side gigs. I do a lot of the marketing at Lumina. I handle the website. I do some odd jobs, handyman type stuff, but I also manage vacation rental properties. I'm very active at our church. And so basically I've got a lot of stuff going on. And so we'll get into some of the issues of how I think Lumina has really helped me be able to do those things and feel good about it. The reason I'm here tonight is really, as we get into these issues about intimacy and wellness as you age, I want to provide the male perspective. We'll get into things that have occurred in our life and struggles that we've had. And we just really look forward to sharing those things and hope that you are learning from that and can take something positive away from it. And so as we do the format tonight, we've got questions that we've gathered from the internet. We're going to go through those questions. We've put things out on social media and asked people to send in questions and things. But if you want to chime in with questions, just raise your hand and Laura will recognize you, and feel free to ask follow-up. And then we'll also leave some time at the end just for any questions from the audience. So sound good, everybody? All right, let's get it started. Back to Laura.
All right, I have some juicy questions, you guys. A couple asked, how can we make time for intimacy and prioritize our connection in our busy lives?
Well, that's a great question because, as we go through this life, we're getting busier and busier. We constantly have demands upon our time, whether or not you have children, but you have your immediate family, you've got your extended family, you've got neighbors, you've got the job, and you have to really kind of think about, okay, this is, the person that I'm with, and I value them and I want to stay and maintain that intimacy with them. And how do you do that? You really have to take that time to prioritize it and say, okay, I'm going to maybe even schedule something or schedule a date or schedule a time where I know that, we can have some sexy time or have a code word that you can utilize to say, okay, let's go try to get away for a few moments. But I think that having the communication on the front end about, recognizing that we all have busy lives, but also recognizing that, you feel like this part of your intimate life is important if you value it, and saying, let's prioritize it. Let's set some special time for it. and try to keep it active. What would you think?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question because, I mean, I just talked about, you're super busy. I'm super busy with a bunch of stuff going on. And so we've sort of lived through this. And I mean, we don't have kids, but her mom lives with us. And so, it's kind of like having kids in terms of you kind of got to work around that a little bit. And so we have certain times where mom's back in her room and she's asleep. I'm thinking Saturday mornings is one of the good times that we find that we can, have some intimate time together. And like she said, scheduling date nights and things like that, if we want to go out in the town is super important.
And, going back on to, no matter how busy your life can be, you can, decide to put that into effect. And I remember that, knowing that, I hadn't really dated a whole lot in the past. And, Jerome was my first serious boyfriend. And, and when we got married, I said to myself, we really want to make, the best out of this life together. And I said, well, even though I'm a busy obstetrician, and that means, working these 10-hour days, sometimes 80-hour weeks or more, being on call at the hospital or having to leave and miss valuable time and sacrifice certain things in life, the home place is supposed to be your safe place where you kind of fall back onto. And that's, really where, I wanted to kind of keep that preserved and keep that, happy and safe.
All right. Another juicy question I have. A couple's asking, how can we communicate openly and honestly about the changes we're experiencing in sexual desire and needs?
So that's a very, very good question because it's hard to have those types of talks because it sometimes can make people feel even more self-conscious about themselves. I have a big interest like on the medical side and also on the social side about sexuality and about relationships. And one of the key things that I've really learned about trying to communicate about this topic, specifically is not trying to do it in the space kind of the bedroom or of the bedroom time and, maybe set a time where it's like a non-stressful time where you're not under any pressure. There's no time constraints and, bring it up just very simply. Say, hey, I've had some, concerns. I'm worried because my interest has gone down and, I want to try to figure out what I can do about it. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I want you to understand that it's not anything that I feel you're doing. It's something that's happening within me. And so for me, like from a personal perspective, I'm 51. We got married when I was 40 and I started feeling some hormonal changes probably about 4 years into our marriage. And I'm like, well, I know that when we were dating, we were very kind of hot and heavy and all over each other. And, we had a great honeymoon phase of the first year or two after being married. But then things just started getting less and less like interesting. And, it worried me because I'm like, well, why, if he's trying to hold my hand, I don't feel any kind of energy or feel like a positive vibe from that. And, that was concerning to me because like that's not even like in my personality. And I was worried like something is definitely wrong with me because this is not the way I was, 4 or 5 years ago. And, I said, I need to get myself checked, but I wanted to have the conversation with him in a non kind of threatening kind of environment outside of the bedroom so that he could feel like and understand that, it's not anything he did. It's not anything he caused. And I didn't want him to feel self-conscious about that.
Yeah, but I'll say I remember the conversation that we had when she came to me and essentially told me that, her sexual desire was waning. And it's hard as a man not to feel like it has something to do with you. But I mean, I did like the way you approached it, that it wasn't, when I am, trying to, go there. And so we had a lot of open, honest communication. Finally sort of understood, or at least hoped, that it really wasn't something I was doing or not doing. But then you started to really look into, what do we do about this?
What did you do?
Good question.
It's a great question. It's a great kind of follow-up question. So actually, I'm, even as a doctor, I didn't understand what was going on with myself. And I'm a gynecologist. And so I should know about hormones. I should know, like, what is changing in my own body. And realistically, I thought, okay, potentially, maybe I am going through a little bit of like a early menopause type thing. I'm not sure, because I was only 44, but I didn't really, it's one of those things where you don't think it could happen to you. And you think, oh, maybe and you feel kind of like you're not at the age that you really are, because I felt like, oh, we're only been married for 4 years, so this couldn't be happening to me. And so I experimented with a few of things over the counter and tried a couple of silly things that didn't work. And then I really started searching and researching. And right around that same time, it took about a year and a half before I really got my whole brain together, wrapped around that. Yes, I was in perimenopause. Yes, hormone levels were dropping. And yes, actually, I was severely lacking in testosterone producing from my ovary, because that hormone was the first to go. And now, as an experienced doctor in this field, I know that in women, it tends to just start dropping when you turn 40, and it goes lower and lower and lower. So it's no surprise to me now, knowing what I know, that when I was 44, 45, things were dwindling. And by the time I was 46, it was at a zero, that, I need to get something done about it. I need to get it replaced. And so right around the same time, I started exploring bioidentical hormone therapy, and I went to a big conference and said, and my eyes were completely open. I was mind blown. I'm like, number one, I've got to get myself on this. Number two, I have to bring this to my clinic, because yes, I had heard similar stories about what I was going through my own self with other patients, but I really didn't even know what to do about it. And, one thing in the medical field is that, you think your doctor knows everything, but, you don't know what you don't know. And this was kind of an emerging field back then, and it's, a lot more popular now, but, I had not really known about it, and even for use for my own self. And so since then, it's been a complete 360 for me, and I, am feeling, great and feeling amazing. And, everything is 100% back. And so I'm, super happy.
And so
Me
during
too.
that year that you said you were, getting it all together, what was he doing for that time?
I'd just say I was just being patient with my wife, just understanding what's going on with her. And I love her, and she was dedicated to, it wasn't like she was dedicated to finding a solution. And so, I knew that she was trying to figure things out. And I'm glad that I was patient with her, because there's going to be a time in the future where she needed to be patient with me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're at that part, Jerome. Because I have a male patient that is asking, what are some healthy lifestyles and habits that I can benefit my sexual health as I age?
Well, let you talk to it first as the clinical doctor, and I'll talk about some of the things I've done in my life.
So definitely some things that may negatively impact a male as he ages is, we all may develop certain types of medical conditions as we get older. And specifically in terms of the intimate wellness, a lot of men will potentially suffer with erectile dysfunction at some point in time in their life. I think the statistics say up to 40% of men may deal with it at some point in time. one of the key things that we know in this whole world of sexual wellness is that, one of the first signals that there could be a problem with blood vessels is erectile dysfunction, because one of the smallest blood vessels are the ones that run into the penis. And the second smallest blood vessels are going to be the ones that go to the heart. And so if there's something going on with erectile dysfunction, you better believe that there's something wrong with blood flow going to the cardiac system as well. And so that's why we always, in doctors that are in the know about, wellness and sexual wellness and erectile dysfunction, it's not always a man has a problem with that issue, give a pill. It's the man has a problem with that issue. Okay, we'll think about that, but we also need to check things like cholesterol. We need to check and see if there's any other vascular disorders. Is there diabetes? Is there hypertension? What else is going on that could be affecting blood flow? Because it's going to affect the blood flow to the heart, which is the most important, right? It's for your life. So, that's the key thing there. But yes, finding out your own medical issue. Men, sometimes they may not like to really go to the doctor, but they usually will go to the doctor if they end up having a problem with ED. But a lot of those real smart doctors will turn them right back to their primary care doctor and say, okay, I'm willing to help you out here, but let's also get some other things checked out at the same time.
Yeah, and I can speak to this from experience, because I do remember the point in time where I started to suffer with erectile dysfunction, and it was, shocking, embarrassing, humiliating. I was like, I couldn't believe this was happening. I hope that my wife wasn't going to think that it had anything to do with her. And at that point in time, she was very patient with me. We did go and check out various things, found out that I had high cholesterol. I had gained a significant amount of weight. And in terms of like the healthy lifestyle choices that you asked about, for me, it was to start and change my diet, start and do regular exercise, things that I guess over time I kind of waned at doing, because there was a point in life where, I was very fit and I tried to watch my diet, got lots of exercise naturally, but life happens. You start to get busy with work and busy with all the other things that you're committed to. And some of the things like eating healthy and getting exercise fall to the side. And so those were some of the things that I did. We also found out I had issues with my testosterone level that we addressed with bioidentical hormone therapy. And so, I think those are some of the main things, just basic, simple stuff, right? But it really made a big difference.
So going off that, they have another question. Is it safe to take supplements for sexual health? And if so, which ones would you consider?
So of course there's going to be tons of supplements, those aisles at HEB and GNC, they're chock full of all kinds of different things. I tend to follow, trying to stick with medical grade supplements that have been highly researched and studied, and they have a specific purpose. We know in terms of wellness, there are certain types of supplements that are going to be good for, number one, reducing cholesterol. One of them is called red yeast rice. Another two that specifically can help with the blood vascular system. One is called arteriosil, and it specifically helps to reduce the stickiness in the blood vessels all around the body. Very, very amazing nutritional supplement, and also can help indirectly with erectile dysfunction. There's another one called Vascanox that's specifically for vascular issues, but in terms of for men's health, can help to increase nitric oxide, which is a supplement. Then in any kind of supplement that's a high quality supplement that can help to increase nitric oxide can help number one, to help with the vascular system, but also help with erectile dysfunction. And so those are the main three that I would look at in terms of for men's health.
All right.
I just want to talk a little bit about supplements, because when we got married, I brought this box of, I don't know,
Powders?
super powder greens. Like I wanted it simple. One thing that had like a serving of fruits and vegetables for one scoop. That's what I used to take. We threw all that out. My wife, though, has me on a number of different supplements, including some of the ones she just mentioned. And for me, it was weird because I try to avoid taking drugs if I can. But, supplements I'm okay with. It's just that I started to get a lot of supplements to the point where I've got a pill box of all these supplements. And it's like, it basically became, I started to see positive effects from the things we were doing. And I trusted my wife. And so I was willing to start it. And so it's continued, but it's really helped out, with energy, with all the things that you were talking about with, I'm on about 10 different?
10?
Yeah, it's like 10. It's 10 now.
But they're good for you.
But they're good for me. So I'm happy with that.
How do you know the difference with the high quality?
So you want to, you have to do that, online research and find out, okay, where is this supplement being produced? What is the quality of the company that's producing it? You have to really be careful about buying things from a lot of third-party suppliers. We all love Amazon, so to speak, but sometimes there's some unscrupulous people that are sellers on Amazon that may have the packaging, but they may put whatever into the bottle, so you don't really know what you're getting. And so I like for patients, they could, come to either their own physician, their own practitioner, or, specific sites that focus on either integrative health or naturopathic medicine, and look at what those supplements that specifically are targeting a purpose. And that's kind of how you can tease it out, but it can be difficult because you may not know. They may not, right. It's tough because they're mass produced. And that's the difficult part of finding those at your regular grocery store.
Would you be able to have like a list of the ones that you have?
Absolutely. Oh yes. So from our clinic, I partner with two or three companies probably. BioT Medical is one, and then Thorne Nutraceuticals the other. And they both are, very high quality medical grade supplements. One, the Thorne company, they are certified for Olympic athletes, and they are held to a very, very high strict standard to what they can put into their body, or else they're disqualified from the Olympics. And so so that company undergoes very rigorous testing for all of their products, and they have very, very high quality vitamins. And the same with BioT Medical. They spend a lot of time researching, the supplements that they decide to carry on their line, and what is going to be specifically targeting a medical issue that can provide good solutions for that. So that's the reasons why I have those.
So we basically did all the work for you.
Right? I've done the research.
we have those in our clinic. So just to let you know, I'm on them too. I've been on them forever. I might look young, but I am a grandma. So let's get back to business. So I have another couple that's asking, how can we explore new ways to keep the spark and alive and maintain a sense of excitement in their sex life?
So I'll start with that one because I'm always very curious about things, and I like new things that come out with like technology and in the whole world of sexuality and sexual health. And interestingly enough, I know I've met Amy a very, very long time ago, very soon after I think she opened up this store, when I went shopping for a bachelorette party for a friend. So I know I walked into this very location probably sometime in 2000, 9 or so, but for the very first time. And I was like, wow, look at all this cool stuff in here. And so I've always been very, very interested in things that you can utilize and add to the bedroom life. And, one thing that is important is to really, try just in your mindset to kind of take the stigma out of it, because, books and toys and products, they're really your allies in the bedroom to really help kind of open up the conversation, to help you experience different things, different sensations, different pleasures, and just enhance that like curiosity of exploring different things within each other, because this is your safe relationship to be able to do that in. And so I've been the one that has been the person to bring little things into the house. So, he knows I come home like, I bought something from the Love Shack. Or I ordered something online, and he'll be like, okay.
It's interesting because I guess I didn't know what I was getting into when we got married in that respect. My wife is very adventurous, and I appreciate that. And it's funny because like now I pretty much expect that if it's a birthday or Christmas or something like that, there's going to be a bag or something somewhere that's hidden away that we can't show mom. We're not opening this one publicly. But yeah, we have a lot of fun with that.
Oh, since we're on that subject, there is somebody asking what are some healthy lubricants we can try to address dryness or discomfort during sex?
That's a really good question. And lots of great lubricants that are out there, because one of the things that can happen in aging for women is going to be dryness. And it can cause pain, dryness, just as part of that aging process and the lack of hormone, or the slow tendency to naturally lubricate. So one thing to know is that process of slow lubrication doesn't mean that the male partner is not the good partner, or you're not getting turned on by the partner. It's just that our bodies are changing and not doing things as they had done in the past. And so, yes, absolutely. Lubricants are important to utilize. And there's lots of different types that are out there. There's water-based lubricants, there's silicone lubricants. So different types of lubricants are going to last a little bit longer. There's a whole wall in this store, all of lubricants that are out there. And I can name that some of my favorites. One is, one of my favorites, the silicone one is called Uberlube, because it is very slick. It doesn't dry out, and it can be used all over the body. And it's odorless, it's tasteless, it's hypoallergenic, and it's long lasting. One of the caveats about the silicone-based lubes is that they can't be used with silicone toys because sometimes they can break them down. So then you would have to use a water-based lubricant with those types of things. And so Sliquid is probably one of my favorite brands of water-based lubricants that's out there. They have different types that are out there, some with flavor, some with not flavor, some that are hybrid, meaning that they are a blend of silicone as well as water-based. And so I find that from a single application during intimacy, the silicone ones are going to last the longest. But sometimes the water-based ones can feel a little bit more like your natural self, ladies. So it's good to experiment and find, which ones you may want to use, in the moment. But definitely, Amy's not here, but she has some great, sales associates here that can definitely work with you. There could maybe be some shopping time at the end where you'll be able to kind of, test and see what something might feel like on your skin to kind of try out. A lot of people use coconut oil as kind of a natural lubricant, and I don't have any problem with it. I think that can be, good. Those can be problematic though with condom use. And so if you intend to use condoms as part of your, sex life, then it could break down condoms. And so I would, avoid that. But a lot of people do utilize coconut oil.
Not only for cooking.
Not only for cooking.
Okay, so a female patient is asking, what are some of the physical changes I might experience in my genital area as I age, and are they going to be normal?
Well, it's a great question, because in terms of is it normal to age? It's normal to age. We can't stop the clock. We can't slow down this process of our body changing. Unless we do some things with hormones, you can slow that process. But when I started having changes of dryness when I was 44, I was confused by it, and I didn't really know what the deal was. And I did, get lubricants and everything, but it is kind of a natural process, but you don't have to live with it and live with the pain from that. Of course, there's maybe some ladies that may not be able to utilize true hormones for some medical reason or another. And so there's some ways to potentially get around that changes with dryness. And, we talk about that during, consultations in the office with our patients. But yes, dryness is very common. Loss of sensation is common. So slower time to feel arousal in the genital area is common. Diminishing orgasm is very common as well. So all of those things can be problematic, but they all can be reversed, so to speak, depending on what we're able to do with treatments in the office. But I'd like to, get the word out, get the education to ladies so that they don't, get to a point to where sometimes I have some ladies that may be already 70 and they, maybe they're with a new partner and they want to resume sexuality, but they haven't used anything hormonally and their tissues are so very dry, so very delicate that, even they may have a desire to resume sexuality, but if they do, they could, actually injure themselves because the tissues actually will shrink without stimulation, without application of either hormones or something that's going to continue to allow blood flow to the area. So that's a real important thing to keep in mind.
All right, any questions? Okay. So another woman is asking, how can I identify and address urinary incontinence that might be affecting my intimacy as well?
So that is very common because that's a specific issue that affects 75% of women. At some point in time in their life, they may have an issue with where they cough or sneeze or lift or exercise, leaking a little bit of urine. And that can, have you having some feelings of feeling self-conscious about yourself, not wanting to be intimate because you feel like you don't want to have an accident in the middle of sex. And so that kind of shuts down your desire because you just don't want even that to approach that area. And so it's a common normal thing to happen. You don't have to have had children to have suffered with incontinence. Certainly it can happen with women that have had children, whether it be delivering a child vaginally or C-section. It can happen to anyone. And so dealing with it is important because one of the key things that can happen just as part of the aging process is the muscles that are in the pelvis. We call it the pelvic floor muscles. Those are what surround the bladder and the vagina and the rectum. And they also play a role in the orgasmic process as well. And, as we kind of use our, bodies, we're exercising our regular muscles, our whole life, our arms and our legs and our backs and all of that. But as we get older, those pelvic floor muscles get less and less activity. And certainly if you have had a child or gone through a pregnancy, et cetera, then your body has gone through that process of that being affected by the childbirth process, what type it is. And the symptoms may start as early as in your 30s. But if nothing is done about it, we know with just aging, the pelvic floor muscles are going to get weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Some women end up utilizing medications. Some women end up having surgery, bladder lifts, bladder slings, etc., to correct the issue. But it's a big business. It's $1 billion business, this whole incontinence for women and women's pads and adult kind of protective briefs to have to wear. And some women get to their 50s and they're already there because of this problem. And so now is the time, really, even in your early 40s or 30s, to learn about that pelvic floor and connect with a provider that can teach you about exercising that pelvic floor in one way or another. There are pelvic floor physical therapists that are out there that are practitioners that are specialized with knowledge on how to maintain the strength of that muscle over time. Because if you don't use that muscle to strengthen it, it will deteriorate over time, and incontinence will become a problem. So wide range of things that are out there for that. Definitely medications do have a role. Surgery does have a role in some people, but it all starts in the beginning with maintaining the strength of that muscle group. And Kegel exercises is one thing that people have talked about that. The pelvic floor exercises is one area. We have a special device called the Emsella chair in our office that does the Kegel exercises for you. And so it does miniature contractions of the pelvic floor to strengthen the muscles, so that I have some ladies that, go through some sessions with that, and they can be, dry for the first time in years. But it's a muscle, and so if you don't use it, you're going to get weak. So you learn how to re-strengthen and retrain that muscle after focusing some time on that. And once you get a handle on that and make that a part of your own personal wellness activities, then you can get back to enjoying life, enjoying sex, and not having that kind of fear about that issue.
All right, we're going to go back to the male patients because they have lots of questions. So male patient is asking, what are some things I can do to improve my sexual performance as I age?
You hand it over to me, baby. Okay. So I'm the male here. What are some things I can do to improve my sexual performance? Well, I've talked about some of them already. A lot of it has to do with living a healthy lifestyle, getting control of some of the issues that are going on with your body through aging that may be causing problems. I feel like we have definitely improved sexual performance, right? And there's a number of different things. I'm hesitating because there's like some things I'm not sure I want to talk about that we actually.
We want to know.
It's actually okay. Yeah.
I have a term. I have a term that I taught her.
Okay.
We got to maintain our sexual shape.
Yeah. You're right. And there's some actual exercises, some things that you can do. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put this out there. One of the devices my wife brought me home at one point in time is a penis pump. Yeah. And it basically helps with circulation and it's funny to talk about. I don't even want you to picture it, but let's just say that it's one of the things that is kind of a regular routine that I do that is helpful, and it's shown benefits. It's shown benefits in terms of my ability to delay ejaculation, and so that definitely helps with performance. And it's also shown benefits in terms of hardness, and so it's kind of become almost this routine, and that's one of the things that's been kind of a performance enhancer, a natural performance enhancer. I have also tried Viagra. Viagra works. Make sure you get real Viagra if you try it. But then also just all of the other things like the exercise, the eating right. Those are things that are going to just, aid your performance in every aspect of life, including in the bedroom.
All right. A couple is asking, are there medical conditions or medications that might be affecting our intimacy? What can we do about them?
So that's a really good question, because there are some medical conditions that do affect intimacy. We kind of touched a little bit on it in the beginning, where we talked about common medical conditions that, just the whole population can have, like say diabetes is one of the top things that can affect a lot of the population, because it is a disorder where the high blood sugars can affect the blood flow and damage sensation. And a lot of the medications for diabetes can contribute to erectile dysfunction. Some of the cholesterol medications can do that, as well as the hypertension medications. And so it's those big, I would say those big three for men are going to be the top three that are the ones that affect men's health. And they can affect a woman's health as well, because they all are going to affect blood flow. They're all going to affect sensation. And if a woman has, diabetes and high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're going to have the same issues with sensation and blood flow to the vulva as well. And that's going to affect your ability to experience pleasure, to have sensations, and dull your ability for climax. And so it's, for both couples, it's really important to really evaluate, or have yourself evaluated for, if you have the disorder, if you have the disease, work your best at trying to keep it under control, because then that's going to be a key factor. Yes?
But let's say they have prostate
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, and they end up in surgery or shaving it, and 4 times,
Mm-hmm.
and to where it just doesn't work.
Right, right.
Okay, and he goes cardiologist. Got all the things to say, except for now, this past year he's been losing a lot of weight,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why. I mean, he goes to the gym still and everything, but I'm noticing that his weight is really dropping down a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's going to a renal doctor now. And so that worries me, that there's a lot more going on in him that he doesn't want to talk about.
Right, right. And so that goes back to one of the first questions, is really kind of setting that quiet, private time in a non-judgmental, non-stressful environment to try to bring up the issues kind of in a non-judgmental way. Say, like, I really love you. I really care about you. I want us to be together forever, but I'm worried. Can we check in? Can you tell me what's going on? I want to know if there's anything I can do to help, because I'm here to support you, etc. Kind of like in that sort of way.
And he just gets real defensive.
Mm-hmm.
That he doesn't want to talk about it. That it has nothing to do with me. He has to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to chime in just from a guy's perspective, because these are things that are, I mean, when I've gone through some of the things that I've gone through, it makes you feel like less of a man. You don't want to talk about, especially with your significant other. There just has to be a way to kind of break through to that. And I think a lot of it has to do with, making him feel comfortable. I don't know what it takes, but to make him feel like he's not being judged, not being looked down upon. And maybe sometimes it just takes some time as well. But I think expressing a willingness, like my wife expressed a willingness to want to help, and to be supportive and to be encouraging through it. And she never made me feel bad. Even at times where I was beating myself up, she never, piled on, so to speak, in any way. And so I really appreciated that. And it made me open, to wanting to, solve this problem however I could. And I knew that she could help. So that was one thing that helped, because I knew that she was, because of what she was doing, that she had some of the solutions.
Any other questions? Okay, so here's the question that they're asking from the both of y'all. What is the most difficult intimacy related thing you have had to navigate in your relationship?
So that probably was, I kind of alluded to that earlier, where, I was still very, young in our marriage, and, my, desire completely just started just going away. And I didn't respond the same way that I did in the past to him. And, it was almost like I could even, check out, like in the middle of intimacy, and daydream or think about the laundry or something like that. And it, on one hand, I knew it was happening, and on the other hand, I'm like, this should not be happening. And so that was really, really difficult for me. And that, kind of spurred me on to like say, this is something that has to change. I cannot have this start 4 years into a marriage. Is where am I going to go from here? So, that's probably the hardest thing that, we went through, sexually. I think the second, probably, if I have to really talk about that, is, I lost my father in 2015, and, he had cancer, and, my mom was his primary caregiver, but, I was dealing with him, having stage 4 cancer, and, being relatively newly married within, 5 years, and, having a house and having this job and being super busy. And then, I completely, probably at that point, didn't even think about anything related to sex, and, didn't even probably touch my husband for like months. And, but Jerome was very understanding about that, because I was literally kind of all over the place with my emotions, and stress levels were at the highest they could ever be. And, I think that we may all go through, just as part of just living this life as humans, go through seasons like that at some point in time. And, it's important, as we are here for each other as a couple, to be understanding and give each other that grace, and know, we're not going to be going through this forever, and we're going to get through this, and, you're going to still be there for me on the other side of this, et cetera, and having that kind of faith in that process, that, your partner's going to be there for you. So, I would probably say that is, the top 2 times for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that those things that we've been through, they were hard. Trust me, they were hard, but they did drive us. I think they cemented a bond, because they were things that we went through together, that we supported and encouraged each other through, that we gave each other grace, like you said. Yeah, and I think that that's one of the keys, is just to, we're committed to this for life, through the good times and the bad times. And the thing is that one of the things that I believe is that, that God can use the things that happen to us and turn them around for good in our lives. And I think that our marriage, our relationship, our sex life is better. And it's because we committed to going through these things together, to solving the problems, encouraging each other through them, getting the treatments or whatever that we needed. And then it's just resulted in, better times now. Thank you guys, Joanne, and thank you guys for sharing. I know, it can be hard. We've shared, some pretty intimate details today. Do you want to know, is there any final questions before we close?
Where's your practice?
Yeah, and that's one thing I truly have struggled with, is finding someone. As I started aging, then I would go for my annual physical, that I would like mention things, but it's always just like, you're there for your annual, and if you need something else, come back.
Mm.
But then when I started noticing differences, it was always like, you're too young. You're too young.
Mhm.
And like, it was like, there's no way you're going through that just yet. But I have yet to find someone who can at least now, it's like you need an OB when you're having kids. And like, I don't need that kind of doctor.
Mhm.
I need a doctor that's going to carry me now from where I'm at.
Yeah. And so, so that's me. So that's really, you know, what I love to do, what I love to, you know, talk about. I love helping women, you know, go through this phase in life. There's some doctors that they may not have a passion about this sort of topic, and they maybe just want to, you know, see their women for their yearly and their mammogram and their pap smear and, you know, prescribe their medications and et cetera. And, you know, that's okay. Right.
They hadn't gone through it.
Right. They hadn't gone through it.
Couldn't speak to it by
Right. Or there are some that may be stuck in an era and they're not willing to come out of that era, and they don't believe in hormones for women, or they think, oh, you just have to go through it. And oh, thousands of years women went through it and they dealt with it, and you should deal with it as well. And, you know, I just say, well, God help you, you know, because it doesn't have to be that way. And, you know, things have changed, and we're now in 2024, and there are a lot of things that are around there to help. And there's doctors that are like me that are passionate about this topic and staying current on it and finding all of the greatest, newest things that are out there that are safe and available to help us, you know, go through this, and, you know full well that, you know, anything that I, you know, bring on into my own clinic, I have used myself, or I have used this young man over here to also be a tester, a home tester.
Yeah. She likes that word better than guinea pig.
So, you know, these are not things that, you know, just things that I'm picking out of the sky that are not good things that are going to be harmful to you. So, yes, we're going to be here around to talk. And, Laura, my manager, Aurora is here. Selena is here also, who's one of our amazing reps for our vitamins as well as our hormone products. And, you know, we'd love to, you know, be able to chat with you or give you more information about our clinic. Awesome. Thank you again for coming. And, you know, we're around to talk with you, and feel free to shop, to visit the table, and have some snacks and drinks, whichever.